How did a 30-year war for English throne erupt from petty nobility squabbles? Amidst the thorns of political turmoil and royal ambition, a saga unfolds in medieval England that will come to be known as the War of the Roses. This epic conflict pitted the House of Lancaster and York against each other in a struggle for the English crown, weaving a tapestry of betrayal, power, and bloodshed that continues to captivate historians, enthusiasts alike. So brew yourself some tea and grab a blanket as we delve into the dramatic and treacherous world of the War of the Roses, where loyalty was fleeting and the quest for power knew no bounds. Causes of the War of the Roses. King Henry VI was a bit of a nincompoop, bless his heart. His weak leadership and suspected bouts of madness left England in chaos. Henry will often lapse into catatonic state, leaving affairs of state rudderless. Competing nobles felt opportunity and advantage. Sensing a power vacuum, the houses of Lancaster and York began amping up their ancestral rivalry to vie for power. The Yorkists held a superior claim to the throne, being descendants of Lionel of Antwerp, second son of King Edward III. But the Lancasters currently occupy the throne under pious King Henry VI, whose grandfather Henry IV had snatched the crown by force. With Henry unable to maintain control due to his frequent mental lapse, violent conflict erupted between nobles. Outbreak of lawlessness allowed the Yorkists under Richard of York and the Lancasters under Henry Beaufort to settle old scores. Their arms retainers soon clashed regularly in the countryside. Ongoing disorder took its toll on trade and stability. As chaos worsened, the common people yearned for strong rule again. The rival York and Lancaster faction polarized, with powerful allies backing each side with armed men and funds. Flimsy loyalties and shifting ambitions turned England into a political minefield loaded with metaphorical gunpowder. By 1455, a tension exploded into a civil war at the First Battle of St. Albans, Watermet, the houses of Lancaster and York. Both royal houses shared descent from the mighty Plantagenet King Edward III in the early 14th century. After Edward III died in 1377, his grandson Henry IV usurped the throne from Richard II, launching the Lancaster dynasty. The Yorkists descended from Edward's second surviving son, Lionel of Antwerp, whose offspring held superior claim over the Lancasters. But since Henry IV took the crown by force in 1399, his Lancaster heirs kept an iron grip on England for 3 generations until Henry VI. Fun fact: the white and the red Tudor rose symbol combines the white rose of York and the red rose of Lancaster. Maybe there's hope for these feuding houses after all. Key events and battles. Nothing like the clang of blades and thunder of cannon fires to really spice up a power struggle. Let's dive into some highlights reel, moments of important battles and figures, shall we? The party at St. Albans always got a little rowdy. In 1455, the Yorkists rolled up with 3,000 men and crashed the annual St. Albans Festival. Kool-Aid Man style, they confronted King Henry VI Lancaster group guarding the town. Boom! Fighting erupted in the streets, leaving St. Albans screwed with 60 dead nobles and commoners. This Yorkist victory triggered full-blown civil war. What a party foul! St. Alban also saw the capture of feeble King Henry VI as a Yorkist prisoner. Speaking of epic clashes, Towton 1461 earned the infamous title of England's bloodiest battle ever. How quaint. Two huge armies, totally over 100,000 men, slugged it out in driving snow, dense fog, and sticky mud. With no quarter giving, the bloody attritional battle saw bodies piling up to literally blocking rivers, men and horses drowning pools of gore. Straight up carnage, I tell ya. In the end, the vicious fighting favored the Yorkies' longbow archers. Edward IV forces ultimately prevail, though both sides suffers immense casualty, numbering over 20,000. Historians estimate over 50,000 men died at Taunton, all told. That's over 1% of England's entire population at the time, completely disseminated in one day. Yikes. Now that's what I call disruption. Prominent figures. Any good war features famous personalities pulling strings behind the scenes. Let's meet our star-studded cast of characters. King Henry VI, his blindness to reality, inability to govern kicked off this whole conflict. Yay, you tried, Henry, you tried. Queen Margaret of Anjou. Henry VI, fierce French queen, fought tooth and nail defending the Lancaster claim. Level-headed as a viper, she dominated her weaker husband and often led troops herself. You go, girl. Richard Plantagenet, Duke of York. The York figurehead namesake had a strong claim, but his blunt ambition earned him few friends. After 6 years of fighting, he met a gruesome end at the Battle of Wakefield. Et tu, Brute? King Edward IV, handsome Yorkist playboy, wooed England with his strong, charismatic rule. We stand, but his overindulgent womanizing ultimately undermined Yorkist stability. Too much rivalry, too little responsibility. The Kingmaker. Cunning strategist Richard Neville flipped like a coin between alliances before his ambition got a little too bold for the new regime. Never look a gift horse in the mouth, Richard. The Prince in the Tower. Edward IV's darling sons and heirs disappeared mysteriously after his death. Without a doubt, a scheming uncle was involved. Scandalous. The final years and aftermath. Ding dong, the wars are dead. After 30 agonizing years, the War of the Roses finally petered out by 1487. Emerging from the chaos, Henry Tudor defeated Richard III and established the Tudor dynasty. Let's break it down, how it's wrapped up. In a nutshell, Henry Tudor invaded England to challenge Richard III's contested rule. He recruited disaffected Yorkists and Lancastrians to his banner. After winning the Battle of Bosworth Field on August 22, 1485, Henry Tudor snatched the crown as King Henry VII and married Elizabeth of York. Bam! Dynasty changed. Yeah, a lot else happened in the confusing intervening years. King Edward IV had brought stability, but his sudden early death in 1483 led to more backstabbing drama. Edward's youngest brother Richard III took the throne, having conveniently gotten rivals like King Henry VI killed. Nobles kept flipping allegiances between Richard III and Henry Tudor. Popular ex-King Edward IV even briefly returned as puppet monarch after revolting nobles forced Richard III to flee. What a mess. But once Henry Tudor eliminated Richard III at Bosworth Field and married Elizabeth under the Tudor Rose banner, everyone pretty much threw up their hands and said, finally, it's over. After so much wealth spent on private armies, the nobility emerged from the wars greatly weakened, allowing the Tudors to consolidate royal powers. Henry VII ruled for a long time, keeping potential rivals on lockdown to prevent more civil strife. His marriage to Edward IV's daughter Elizabeth united red and white roses, ending the factional strife. After decades of instability, Henry VII's harsh but crafty rule brought order. He passed laws to limit nobles' ability to raise illegal private armies that had prolonged the Lancaster-Yorkist conflict for so long, dry with taxes and crushing fines, transferring their riches directly into the royal coffer. What a sly dog! While his penny-pinching ways were unpopular, most accepted the security and stability Henry VII brought. After suffering through the Wars of the Roses chaos, his victory finally marked a chance for the slow healing of England's war wounds to commence. Peace in our time, for now at least. What a wild, powerful struggle while the War of the Roses devastated England temporarily. Its outcome shaped history profoundly. With over 100,000 dead in clashes like Towton, it was certainly an unavoidable catastrophe mess. Yet this bitter dynastic feud finally ended with a shrewd Henry VII taking the throne. His Tudor dynasty rule transition war-ravaged England away from the turmoil of battle nobles towards early modern stability and strength. All's well that ends well. Well, close enough. We'll take it. How did the outcome of the War of the Roses shape the future of England? And what enduring legacies did this tumultuous period leave behind? Let us know in the comments below. Ready for more royal intrigue and timeless tale? Check out the next video on screen to uncover another fascinating chapter in history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all things royal. See you in the next video.